You're listening to Crossing Borders with ANYP for the Always Next Year Podcast Studio Network. You can find the team on our Twitter at ANYPodcast or visit us on our website, www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. And now, to bring us in, the Jackdaws.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and so jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to Crossing Borders, the show where Shane and I pick Canada versus the United States in the most dramatic way possible, and that is by arguing about Philly sports takes. How are you doing today, Shane?
I am doing well. I am excited for you to be taking this one over, man.
Yeah, we decided we'll give you a break. People are probably getting tired of hearing your voice.
People should be tired of hearing my voice.
Although I think if I remember correctly on Backyard Beers and Football, somebody was really quite horny for your voice. So maybe we should try and keep that talking a bit more. Keep that the interest of at least one viewer, right?
Well, I appreciate anyone who wants to sit here and think that I have a sex-toned voice, but I would respectfully disagree. But I appreciate you nevertheless.
I've never had anybody say that about my voice, so I would love to hear that at some point. So hopefully,
man, every time
will.
You say against, I'm wet.
It must be a Canadian thing. Must just be like certain words in my Canadian tone. So
there you go.
So this week we have 4 more topics, one from each of our professional sports teams. So Shane, I'll give the reins to you. Which one do you want to start talking about?
Well, I feel like we should start with the one that literally broke 5 minutes before we decided to jump on air here. Let's go with the Birds and Clowney.
Okay, yeah, good, perfect choice. So as everyone probably knows, about an hour ago, Jadeveon Clowney got traded to the Seattle Seahawks for a 3rd rounder and a linebacker and defensive end whose names I do not remember. But before that, the two teams he wanted to go to the most were the Eagles and the Seahawks. So we decided to scour Twitter and find some takes on what people's thoughts were for Jadeveon Clowney coming to the Eagles, what type of package might there be to offer, and who... And more or less, did you want him to come to Philadelphia? Shane?
First of all, I will give you the names of the 2 people that were in that trade as well, because the one has to be a top 5 name in all of football. The linebacker is Jacob Martin, and then the D-end that was sent over is Barcavius Mingo. That shit sounds like a Key and Peele skit right there. Like, there's no way that's that guy's real name, right?
No, I agree. You know, when I saw that name, I was like, damn, that is a cool name.
That's
and
why
exactly,
you forgot.
I kind of pictured that scene. And if anyone has not ever watched Key and Peele and seen their football name skit, hilarious.
Everything that show does is brilliant. Those guys are comedic geniuses. But so for the takes on things. So I was about as unsexy about this as you possibly could be. I didn't particularly want him, but I didn't particularly not want him. So it was weird. I feel like it was one of those situations for me that had I woke up today and the news been Clowney's an Eagle, I'd have been like, that's cool. Had he not been an Eagle, as he now is not, I'd have been like, that's cool. So like, to me, it was we have such a wealth of talent on our Eagles roster as a whole as it is. And I, along with you, do believe in our depth there. While limited at the position, I believe in them. I know that the showing so far has not been particularly great. But you brought up a really good point last week, Connor, about, we would be actively taking away snaps from guys who we truly need to be on the field to see what it is that we have. and I respect that. So some of the things that I had found were, let me find them here. I was literally looking at something else. Oh, all right. So we're going to go with, I had 5 tweets for the Clowney thing because that's how indecisive I was. So I'm going to go with this one now. And Matthew, I can finally say that the process is complete. So this is from @MattBishop. This is in response to someone else's tweet, though I can't recall where it was. Matthew had stated, "Can someone just trade for Clowney so I can just stop checking Twitter?" Well, that's pretty much how I felt. I don't know about you.
There was a lot. I saw a lot of tweets like that today. Like, thank God it's over.
Yeah, man. I was at a certain point, the longer these stories happen, the more insane proposals from fans come out. You know, I sit there and I see like, oh, Halapoulivaati straight up for him. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, who the hell's going to make that trade? And you start seeing the most obscure things. And then like I saw a take today that said, hear me out, Tyreek Hill straight up for Jadeveon Clowney. And I'm like,
you saw it, man. I saw one that was Andre Dillard I think it was Andre Dillard and a first from us for Jadeveon Clowney. I was like, really? You want to give up on our first round pick this last year plus give away another one? Like,
yeah, Clowney is good, but he's not 2 first-round picks, one of which being the future blindside protection of a $30+ million quarterback. Like, get the hell out of here. Some of these takes were absurd. So I mercifully am so happy that this process is concluded. I will say Seattle is a team that I never fully fear until the playoffs. Like, I genuinely feel like that roster is just, they're built like an NBA roster. Like, they could probably coast and go like 8-8, 9-7, and if they squeak into the playoffs, like, they're the team you should fear. They just know how to win, and that terrifies me that they got arguably, you know, a top 3 or 5 defensive line talent in all of football.
Yeah, and someone had posted something about their defensive line, and it's a pretty scary group. They're not the Legion of Boom cornerbacks that they had, but they are definitely they need a new nickname. But they're scary. There are some good. They got like their first round pick there, LJ Collier, who I was pretty high on. They got Wagner. They got Clowney now. They got a couple other guys I can't fully remember. They got another guy who's got 4 100+ tackle seasons under his belt. So that's a pretty scary line. Pretty scary front group of people because that's combining defensive ends, tackles, and linebackers. But I won't lie. They are scary. There's something about Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson that scares you come the playoffs. It's just something about them that you're like, they know what they're doing. They know, they get this. They get this thing we call football, you know?
They definitely do. Like I said, they're a team that I feel like they understand their particular goal is to just play better than 8-8 football, eke into the playoffs, and stay healthy. And
that's all that matters. Those really all 4 that matters. Games after that is all that matters. If you can squeak in, who cares if you were 8-8 or 9-7? Because those next 4 games are what truly matter.
For sure, man. So what was your take on it?
So I was completely, if you tune into the Kelly Green Hour for the last 2 weeks, I have been that guy saying no, no, no. And I continued to stand by that stance today and cheered as the news broke. So first off, at everybody's favorite at Elliott Shore Parks, I got 2 tweets. So one that was an instant reaction today and one that was from a couple days ago. So our favorite Elliott Shore Parks tweets, passing up on getting Clowney in hopes Derek Barnett can have a big year would be foolish. #Eagles. So I just got to say, Elliott Shore Parks,
Why the hell is he using a hashtag? Like, he is the Eagles beat guy at WYP. Like, he is the guy that's supposed to be on the pulse.
Have to
fuck off with your hashtag.
We know. We're all going to see your tweets, and we're all going to loathe you because we're going to be like this. He is foolish. That statement is foolish. We invested a first-round pick in Derek Barnett. You are damn right that I want to see him have a big year, and I want to see what he has because he had a big first year, and then he struggled with injuries in his second year. So then when it comes time to pay this guy, we sit there and we say, do we pay him based on that first year or do we pay him as a rotational role that he had for the last 2 years? So you're damn right that I am fully invested in Derek Barnett and putting Barnett on one side and Graham on the other side, and that is it. And you know what? ESP can call me foolish because I will accept that, and he should accept it when Derek Barnett puts up 10 plus sacks and shows he was worth that investment at the 14th pick that year, 14th pick, I think. He's going to show that he was worth that investment. I have no doubts in my mind about it.
And like, this is my thing too. If I was Derek Barnett and just going along with your, like I said, I don't, in this particular take and stance, I didn't stand on either side of the fence. I just balanced it and said, I'll fall wherever the pieces fall. But look at the interior of our line. Now, obviously, Fletcher Cox is still kind of, we don't know how he's going to come back from his injury and what we're going to get out of him to start the season, but he's still fucking Fletcher Cox. You spend all the money to get Malik Jackson. You have Jernigan as a freaking depth player. Are you shitting me? Like, how much easier can we make this for Derek Barnett? I'm with you. 10 plus sacks is more than attainable for him. He flashed that potential in limited role in 2017. Like, I'm pretty sure. Now, again, I'm not putting he and Clowney in the same class, but I am saying that he is going to be more than serviceable, on that line. And foolish, you're damn foolish, ESP. What a joke this man is.
And then I got one more take. So Chris Long tweeted out right after the news broke. He says, and this literally wrapped up everything I've been trying to say to LJ on Kelly Greenhour for the last 2 weeks. Eagles need edge depth, not another stud. Clowney is expensive, and what would it take to get him? How would it disrupt the flow of your first rounder, Derek Barnett, the guy you just paid, or a good interior sub rusher you just got on the market? That sums it all up. We must have some sort of faith in what's behind Derek Barnett and Brandon Graham, and we must have a ton of faith in Derek Barnett, which I do. And I'm of the belief that Josh Sweat will show us some things, and it's just a matter of him staying healthy.
I'm super high on Josh Sweat. Like, I know that I have literally not an ounce of anything to back this up so far throughout his short NFL career. But he is way too freakishly athletic and talented to not piece it together to be at least a serviceable rotational guy. I also love Deshaun Hall. Excuse me. We have to call him Deshaun Hall. I was corrected of that down at the stadium.
Come on, it's D-A-E, not D-E-A. You got to get that right. Yeah,
that's right. Deshaun. But he was a former third rounder too, who struggled with injuries. And it's the only reason that he found himself onto our roster. I think it was Carolina. It was a wealth of depth over there, and they just can't keep an injured guy. And he just kind of fell to us. And I would expect, really quality snaps from him this year. So I'm cool with it. Miller, I don't have any fucking faith in, but I hate Penn State as a whole. So that might just be me being biased.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, Miller, we don't know what we got there. I wasn't huge on him when they drafted him. I read about him. I was like, I feel like we could have got something else or something better, but I guess for now we give it time and we see what happens because Joe Ostman's off on the sidelines too. So hopefully next year he comes back and shows us what Deshaun Hall basically showed us. That's what we expect from Ostman. So
yeah, man, they expected big things prior to his injury. I felt so bad for him.
Oh, that was heartbreaking. I think that's the injury. Well, Camus was a pretty rough injury too. Those two injuries broke my heart when they happened. So
yeah, same.
So next, you were on the fence. We got to get you off the fence. So I'm going with the Sixers take. We're going to get you off the fence. There's no way you're sitting on the fence with this one. So I believe it was last week, Mike Scott said that he hopes that Sixers fans boo the shit out of Jimmy Butler when he comes back to Philadelphia. So give me your take. Are you booing Jimmy Butler when he comes back to Philadelphia?
Hell yeah, I'm booing him. But I would boo anybody who comes in a different jersey. Like that to me, he's just a guy. He spent 2.5 months here. Like, first of all, there's a lot about Jimmy Butler that I do respect. But at the end of the day, you were coming in here in a Miami Heat jersey. If you think I'm not booing you, you're fucking crazy. What I would sit here and suggest people when they themselves are on the fence in this, let's think of athletes who do know our city. Wayne Simmons. This week said, I hope to God Philadelphia boos me on October 9th when he comes in as a member of the New Jersey
It's like
Devils.
a rite of passage. If you leave and you don't get booed when you come back to Philadelphia, you did something wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Like, here's the thing. This is exactly how I would tackle it. For introductions, I hope that bricks in the ceiling are literally fucking falling because we're booing so fucking loud about Jimmy Butler when his name is introduced in that starting lineup. After that, at the first or second TV timeout, he's going to get his 60-second tribute on the big screen in there. I would cheer that because what he did last year was great. He was a phenomenal piece to a team that they underachieved in the end, but they were 5 doinks away from potentially representing or being one of the 2 teams to represent the East. So he was a huge cog in that. I would cheer for that because that's acceptable. That is an acknowledgement of just that season. The second that video stops and he touches the basketball again, he gets a Sidney Crosby boo. That's just what happens. I'm sorry. And so here are the tweets that I had for this. I had 2, and they were both in response to a PHL Sixers Nation tweet. One was from Jacob, and his @ is Jacob, aka Dad. The tweet is, if Mike Scott says boo Jimmy Butler, you boo Jimmy Butler. I think it's weird that we need Mike Scott to tell Jacob, aka Dad, that. I think, Jacob, you should know that on your own. And the second one I have here is from Justin John at Mr_Clutchy Y. Weird handle, I gotta say, Justin. Feel as though that should change. But his tweet is, before I was undecided until the master of the Hive gave us his command. Here's the thing. Who's thirstier?
Jesus.
Who's thirstier in this? Is it Mike Scott for how he's been and how he's integrated himself into the city of Philadelphia as a role player? Or is it all these people in this goofy ass Hive? Who is the thirstier person or persons?
Oh, it's the Hive. It's got to be the Hive, man.
It's
Mike
the
Scott
Hive
just
over Mike Scott?
integrated himself into the city like any player we've ever watched and wanted to. And then usually you sit there and it's like this guy's like the queen bee, king bee. Let's call him king bee. This guy's like the king bee, man. The Hive, like there's a bunch of people like this guy basically just said it. I was on the fence and the king bee spoke up. Like you need somebody to speak up for you. Mike Scott did not create this following. We have to get that straight, Shane. He did not create this following. The cult followed him. So this is the situation. This is the issue that I have. You can't say that they're the thirsty one. You can't say he's a thirsty one. He just integrated himself. He is, but he integrated himself into the city the way we love to watch our athletes integrate themselves. Then the Hive started coming along, like the Hive and all these like talking like this person so far above us, saying do this. So yes, master, let's do this.
So let me ask you this. I've recently just downloaded. So obviously, while running ANYP, I find it extremely important to listen to, a multitude of different podcasts and different media sources and kind of pull some interesting things that we can then branch off and put into ours. Right. So I recently have downloaded 2 true crime podcasts, which are going to be fascinating. I've literally yet to actually listen. But how long is it before a member of this Hive, murders someone because Mike Scott was like, I don't like this man? You wait. That's all it's going to
come up. It's going to be a title on that one day. You're going to see, I don't know, some creative ass title like the Scott Hive or some hashtag Scott Hive. Right? And you're going to be like, holy shit, I got to listen to this. Guaranteed this is taking place in Pennsylvania somewheres.
100%.
But you could be proud of that or not. But then you want to talk about thirst.
I'm you go as far as
killing somebody? Damn. Now
I'm just saying, both can't say Mike Scott
you cannot
and
say
his Hive.
Mike Scott's thirsty if someone kills for Mike Scott.
They fuel off each other in a way that I've never seen anything before. It's bizarre. Like I sit here and I look at, so I when I was explaining this to Stephanie at one point, I had used have you watched the TV show The League?
No, never heard
Holy
of it.
Shit, for a fantasy football guy, you haven't watched a show that has next to nothing to do about fantasy football? Crazy. Anyway, there's a character on there, Andre, and he essentially, they call him a boyfriend chameleon. Each episode that he has a different female there, he is interested in exactly what it is that his partners are interested in, but he takes those things to an insane level, and then eventually comes someone that he kind of adapts to, and then they decide, shit, I'm going to overtake him. And it's this play of this give and take as to who has like the power and the influence in that relationship. I think that these two elevate each other. Like, I'm not so certain that if that pod or that title came across one of those true crime pods, you know, like hashtag Scott Hive strikes again. Like, I'm not certain that it wasn't something that Mike Scott and the Hive conjured themselves together. Like,
oh,
who
it's
knows?
it's a cult. That's exactly what it is. But it's like a social media cult. Mike Scott's not going to come up to you and say, I need you to kill someone. No, it's going to be like someone's going to see, like, I don't know, the most basic Philly thing here, right here. He's going to say, boo Jimmy Butler. We're going to boo Jimmy Butler. Someone's going to come with that Jimmy Butler jersey. That's the murder right there. You know it. You know it. That is happening. That's happening. You say boo, he says boo, and next thing you know, boom, someone wearing a Jimmy Butler jersey's dead.
All right, so I do feel as though we should probably state this now that we are on something that is going to reach the internet. Neither of us truly believe that there is anyone in this that is capable of murder, nor are we saying that this is something that's going to happen. So this is no premonition.
I'll be honest with you. There are people out there who would do this, and I know there is. But I'm just going to, let's be honest right now, Shane. We just don't condone it, okay? It's probably a good idea just to not do it. I mean, it would give Shane an amazing podcast to listen to and probably laugh about for hours.
That makes me sound sadistic. I'm going to sit here and laugh over a murder.
Listen to what we just talked about. You know the minute that hashtag Scott Hive topic comes up on your true crime podcast, you're gonna be like, holy shit, I gotta listen to that. That's gonna be the one you download.
I can't download it because that like implicates me. They're gonna be like, you spoke this into existence. I'd be like, fucking no, I didn't. 80 people listen to the show.
Mike Scott tweeted it into existence. We just go back.
Oh,
okay,
right.
so I guess.
So what is your take?
I wasn't on the fence. You know what? I was one of those guys. I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I don't think you should boo this guy because we knew that this was happening. And this tweet that I have here is exactly brings home the point that I'm trying to make. So he says, this is at MJ215, J spelled Jay. Dear fellow Sixers fans, boo the hell out of Jimmy Butler when he comes back to Philly. Don't mess this up. This guy needs to get booed out of the building. He clearly didn't want to be here. He used us. He's a douchebag. So beyond the point that this is extremely whiny and so unlike a Philly fan to whine like this. Never. Oh, I mean, usually they're a bit more aggressive than that. This is a little whiny, don't you think?
Use the word douchebag.
Okay.
That's like some aggression.
Okay, you use the word douchebag. Okay, yeah. I mean, the word douche in French is shower. So up in Canada, I mean, it's kind of like a, the connotation there, like a shower bag. But I'm saying, did you not expect this? Did you guys really fall for this? That he was going to be here for life. He was a Sixer for life. And he goes everywhere. He tears it apart. He makes everybody fall in love, and then he leaves. That's how he is. That's who he is. So I'm not going to boo him because you know what? It's the reality. I knew this was going to happen. When we talked about re-signing after, I was like, there's something that just doesn't feel right about Jimmy Butler. There's just something. He goes everywhere.
Well, did you want him when we traded for him?
Absolutely, because I wanted to make it to the playoffs, and we did. And then I wanted to make it to the finals, and we were, like you said, 5 doinks away from potentially being that representative. But am I going to boo about it? I mean, I respect everything he brought to the team, but there's no point for me. I don't feel like wasting my boos on a guy that the reality was this was the direction it was going to end up going. That's how I feel.
So here's the thing. As a guy who absolutely did not want Jimmy Butler here, specifically because I was a huge Robert Covington fan, and I always thought he was very underrated. I will still say to this day, my best pod that I was ever on was when I challenged our previous host, Kevin, to reevaluate his hatred for Robert Covington because he's a far better player than he gave him credit for. And then Dario Saric was, at the time, my favorite 76er. So the fact that we gave those pieces away in order to acquire a guy who I was told by the media is a problem, I didn't I didn't want that. I didn't like that. I didn't want it at all. And then he integrated himself so quickly by winning basketball games in sexy ways. And then he was funny and personable and connectable in each of these post games. He seemed like he and TJ were hilarious together. He and Joel Embiid, hilarious. He and even Ben Simmons, for all the talk that they didn't particularly get along, they were hilarious together. And they just built something here that it was hard to not fall in love with. It was hard to not want to, quote unquote, run it back. So when he did decide, I'm going to burn that 5th year of, contract eligibility in a max and take a 4-year max and just, I don't know, migrate down to a winningless Miami, fuck you. You're getting booed. I'm sorry. Like you sat there and you made all of us believe, most of us believe, not you, but you made most of us believe. And then you just were like, if I guess I don't need that $30 million on a 5th year. I'm out.
If I was there for that game, I'm going to be that guy who doesn't even give Jimmy Butler attention. This man seeks attention. You're
going to go take a piss?
Who he is. No, I'll go piss. No. I'm not even that. That would be doing something while Jimmy Butler is getting the attention he deserves. I will sit there and I will look at you guys, look at the people around me, and I would say, you didn't see this coming? You didn't know this was coming? This is Jimmy Butler. This is what he does. This is his specialty. I think he's better at breaking cities' hearts and making cities hate him than basketball.
Oh, God. You might be right with that.
Hey, it definitely is potentially true. So let's move on. I'll give you the pick of the lot for these final 2 topics. Phillies or Flyers?
Well, before we get to one of those two, we'll give you a quick word from our one sponsor. We mentioned him. The only reason I'm doing it now is because we just mentioned his name, Kevin. So for all of you guys who enjoyed listening to our previous 76ers it was still called TJ's One of Us, but our previous host, Kevin Kaskavage, he has finally begun his movie reviews. So if you have an Instagram, search Movie Journey Reviews. It's going to be a black and white kind of title page there. It looks very old school, film authentic, something that you would see in like a Quentin Tarantino opening shot. It's pretty cool. Kevin is your go-to guy for all of your cinema reviews, television reviews, and things of the sort. So Connor, the next time you and your missus in your new home, congratulations, by the way, are looking for a movie to pop in the Blu-ray player, DVD player, VHS, whatever the hell it is that you guys own up there in Canada, I do not know.
Who the hell uses that?
I have no idea.
Netflix,
all right, fine. If you want
to
pop in a streaming
Android
service
boxes
over there, sweet God, you're going to go to Movie Journey Review on Instagram, and you're going to check out what our buddy Kevin says. So again, that is Movie Journey Review on Instagram. And I feel
like if I ever visit you, that you're going to have like a VHS in your room or something.
All right. First of all, I do not have a VHS player. We have to go to Stephanie's parents' house in their basement and dig it out of a box if we want to watch an old VHS, which mercifully we haven't done because we, like the rest of the world, use Netflix. I want to end with Flyers. So let's go to the Phillies because I loved the Flyers take that you chose. So let's roll with the Nick Pivetta and the Philadelphia Phillies takes. Why don't you start it?
Okay, so this one was a funny one. I got put the visual up on Twitter. So Kyle Bennett tweets, "What the hell is behind Vince Velasquez?" I don't know if people have seen that interview where there's like a Phillies player.
It's Tommy Hunter.
Tommy Hunter with like the mask on there. So then this guy, his name is Spaghetti Gedon, Geddon. Says, "Oh, that's a ghost of Nick Pivetta's breakout season." So if that doesn't give away the topic we're rolling with, we are talking about Nick Pivetta and the disappointment that he has been in what was supposed to be his breakout season. We did not address the start and pitching rotation in the offseason, and I feel like Nick Pivetta is partly to blame for that because we thought we were getting a breakout. We thought we were getting something from Pivetta this year, and we got absolutely nothing. We got some shitty bullpen appearances. We got some shitty games, and we got 2 times sent to AAA. And I mean, it's a topic that I want to be really angry about, but like the stats speak for themselves. He's not good. He's not a breakout player. Where did people see that he was going to be a breakout player? Like, was it the strikeout an inning? Was it the fact that the guy gives up like 1.5 home runs per 9 innings? Like, was like, I just don't understand where people thought the breakout was, and I fell for the hype. I'll admit it. I fell for the hype. Did I think we should still address the starting pitching rotation? Abso-fucking-lutely. But was it all Pivetta's fault? No, but I expected a lot more from Pivetta. And I mean, I'm hoping you have a lot more to add to this because, I mean, we could rattle off stats, but I mean, the most impressive thing is his over one strikeout in an inning. Everything else you go across that stat line, it isn't even worth reading about. So what was your take? What do you got to say?
So it kills me. So I have 3 tweets. So I took a tweet that is representative of my opinions every single time I see him. One that is what I assume the mass Philadelphia Phillies fan base opinion is, and then another one that is what Nick Pivetta would himself be saying. So I'll explain each one as I go. I'll try to keep it quick. So this one is from John Johnson WIP. This just in, Nick Pivetta is an emotional mess on the mound. Now, where have you seen this tweet before? All over my Twitter, because he is a mental fucking midget out there. This guy has no capacity for calmness. He cannot go out. If anything happens, it's never his fault. Whether he's freaking out about an error from his defense, whether he doesn't like the calls that's coming out from JT Realmuto or Andrew Knapp, who also does call a decent game for all of the shit that I give him. He does call a nice baseball game. Whether he disagrees with the shifts and the analytics of where people are being set up and he's being fed misinformation. He's a child out there. He's a fucking child. And
it's
until
like
he grows up, a little bit, you know, I compare him to like what Ryan Madsen was for me. I know Ryan Madsen for most people is, you know, a postseason hero and an excellent pitcher. But for me, I loathed Ryan Madsen. I always felt like he was the guy who just, if one thing happened, I didn't trust him. Like going into an inning, fine. But the second something happens, I do not trust him. And that's how I feel with Nick Pivetta this year. A guy who opened up the season as your number 2 fucking starter. A guy who all across baseball, not just in Philadelphia, not just on the Twitter account of Jack Fritz or the Twitter accounts of me and you or anyone at ANYP. This was all across baseball. He was a primed candidate for a breakout season because of a multitude of stats and numbers. It just was never going to happen until he grows the fuck up. The stuff is there. His ability as a pitcher is there. He just mentally is not. So mine was the John Johnson. This just in, Nick Pivetta is an emotional mess on the hill. This is what I believe all of Philadelphia is. So obviously the Phillies are breaking hearts 3-4 times a week at this point. They bring you up just to bring you back down. You know, they take you 1-2 pegs up just to put you 8 feet into the ground. Like that has been the Philly season, and especially lately. So this is from Phillies Insider 99, which I don't think they're an insider of anything, but that's cute. The Phillies have given up 11 runs to the Marlins tonight, and it's just the 5th inning. If I were a GM, I would DFA Pivetta and Velasquez immediately. These types of quote-unquote performances scream laziness and a lack of preparation. Unacceptable. So the DFA comment is the one I want to address. I hate both these pitchers too right now. Like Nick Pivetta, I hate because he's a fucking child. And Vince Velasquez, I hate because I see potential there in who he is, and I can't figure him out. Like I have no idea how to describe what Vince Velasquez is. But Philadelphia right now, they're choosing to just disregard the actual talent that both of those pitchers have. And that's it. They're like, nope, these guys have failed to get it done this year, or for Vince Velasquez through, you know, most of his Phillies tenure, get him out of here. I guarantee if one or both of these players find themselves on a smart baseball team's roster with a good pitching staff, a good pitching coach, a good philosophy over there, they're going to be good baseball players. They're going to be serviceable pitchers, whether they're in rotations or bullpens or what. They're going to be good. We just can't find a way to calm them down and make them effective. And Philadelphia right now is like, let's just cut our losses and, you know, DFA them. That's fucking ridiculous.
It's a little impulsive in my eyes.
100%.
I mean, Velasquez, I agree, should be in a bullpen. I don't think he's meant to be a starting pitcher in my personal belief, but he's got that like hard throwing type
Not
of ball
really.
that
He
you
throws
could
like
use
93 to 95. Like he's nothing special.
hard enough. Okay, good Lord.
I'm just saying. I can't give him a break. We call the guy Vinny Velo, and he throws 93.
You want here, Nick Pivetta, I think could make a serviceable starting pitcher. Is it an ace or a 1 or a 2 pitcher? Probably not. I'd have a hard time believing that I'd put him out there as one of my pitchers during the postseason either. Even if you could get him to the point where he's pitching every day and pitching consistently, I still don't know if I trust him in that role. But, I mean, he's a serviceable starting pitcher. If I were to pick one or the other and say bullpen or starting pitcher, Velasquez would be going to the bullpen and Pivetta would be the serviceable starting pitcher that you get.
I'd flip that. I would make, Velasquez your 5 and Pivetta, if he's going to stick with 2 pitches and be an asshole, I'd rather him just ramp up the fastball and sharpen the curveball even more and pitch for 20 pitches a night instead of 110. But my last tweet here is from Rmax. It is at Philly Hotspur. Vince Velasquez, I suck. Nick Pivetta, hold my beer. And this is relevant to me for 2 reasons. It's because when Vince Velasquez sucks, I genuinely believe that when he puts his head down, when he walks off the mound and then sits down in that dugout and puts his head down again or grabs his glove and goes into the clubhouse, I think his mindset is, I fucking sucked. And I think it eats him up. I think it bothers him. And the Nick Pivetta hold my beer is I genuinely believe that he thinks he has the ability to be a savior every single time he walks out there with the baseball. And when it doesn't work, it's everyone else's fault. So he is a confident, hold my beer, let me go out there and fix things just as much as he is a confident walk off the mound. Wasn't my fault. I'm going to have a beer.
He's absolutely, he is the definition of that hold my beer, like meme.
Yeah.
I picture Pivetta doing it every time. It's like, hold my beer, I'm going to go out there and save us. And then look at everybody but himself to blame. Kapler, Real Muto, anyone out in the field. Yep. Fans, he probably blamed the fans first. He didn't cheer loud enough. Didn't boo loud enough.
Yep, him and Sean Rodriguez are out there cutting us all out.
Exactly. So I think it's safe to say, what's your take on Pivetta? I kind of want to get a final feel. Would you keep him, trade him, or what do you want? So you want to keep him. What do you do with him?
Here is my thing. You have to have an honest conversation, and it's got to be organizational. Like, this can't just be Kapler to Pivetta. Like, this has to be your pitching instructors. So it has to be Chris Young. It has to be those driveline arm guys that are in the minor leagues as well. It's got to go all the way up to Klentak and McPhail and whomever. They all have to sit down and they have to decide what is the best way to utilize this man. If he is going to be a starter and they envision him being a 3 or a 4 or a 5 next year in the rotation, the only thing I want him doing throughout the entire offseason is, 1, seeing a fucking therapist and learning a third pitch. Or 2, he's going to be best utilized out of the bullpen, and we expect him to be a multi-inning, high-leverage Seranthony, Josh Hader type. I can't believe we just put Seranthony and Josh Hader in the same sentence, but their roles were the same. Very disrespectful to Hader. But the role and logic behind that is the same. So if you're going to sit there and go into that, my advice to Nick Pivetta going in, and what I would want the Phillies to tell him, is to, I don't know, see a fucking therapist. Go and talk your shit out. Grow up. And then sharpen up those 2 things, one of which is a fastball, and the other one is that big curve that he does have. As a bullpen guy, you can get by with 2 pitches. I would still recommend finding a way to be comfortable with a third, something that goes down, but out of the bullpen, not quite as big of a concern. But if you walk in the next season with the open-mindedness to say, hey, we can yo-yo this guy, we can put him in the rotation. If he doesn't do well, we know we can shift into the bullpen. No, you can't. He's a mental midget and he can't fucking handle life. You need to select something and you need to ride it out. For me, he needs to be a Philadelphia Philly next year, unless someone blows us away with something, some kind of a deal. But if he's a starting pitcher, someone needs to sit there and work with his ass mentally for one, and then a third pitch for another. Or if you use him in the way that's probably best served for Nick Pivetta, it's a high leverage multi-inning relief guy, a Josh Hader type. And same thing. You have got to sit down with some sports science, sports therapist, and just fucking hash your shit out. He's got to mature.
I agree, especially I agree more with the mental aspect. I mean, we understand that sports are mentally draining. We saw with the Andrew Luck situation, we see, but this is a whole different situation. This is something you can figure out. The constantly trying to heal yourself from injuries, that's a tough thing that is way more of a mental drain on a person versus a whole psychological going to see a psychologist or whatever. But this needs someone needs to take this guy to a psychologist, and you all sit in the room and you all do it together, because this man needs to figure it out, and he needs to be sat there and capitalists be like, no, we're sitting here and we're going through this. We're going to go through this together. We're getting you to where you have to be so that you can be serviceable for us, because you can't have him going up and down all year. We need serviceable people. If we have the Jake Arrietas of the world who are going to opt into a $20 million option, we need serviceable alternate options as well. And I think that, yes, if he can figure out his mental game and work on a third pitch, which if you can throw a curveball, you can throw a fastball, it is I've never played baseball. I played for a bit, but I never pitched. I was that guy who, when they said go out and throw a pitch, I stuck five fingers around that ball and I fucking threw it. That was me as a pitcher. So I'm gonna say that if you can throw a curveball and you can throw a fastball, you can learn a two-seamer with some movement. You can learn a changeup. You must, as a starting, we're paying you as a pitcher. This is why this guy gets paid to pitch and I get paid to sell Coca-Cola products. If you can learn two pitches, you can learn a third. I can't imagine it to be that difficult. So go see a psychologist, learn that third pitch, show us you're a serviceable 3, 4, 5 pitcher. And if not, show us you're a serviceable 2, 3 inning pitcher out of the bullpen, because judging by the looks of the Phillies, we will probably need a couple of those. It would be really nice to have some of them, because we clearly don't want to address the starting pitching rotation.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
So now we will move on to our final take. It is the Philadelphia Flyers. We had a tough time thinking of this, and then I was like, holy shit, I've seen this all over Twitter. It has to be talked about. So this topic is the Philadelphia Flyers and their players have been left off of basically every top 20 list there is out there. Defensemen, wingers, goalies, any list. The team in general, good. They deserve to be left off any top 20 list. But so far as certain players like Claude Giroux, Sean Couturier, maybe like young up-and-comers like Carter Hart, should probably be on those top 20 lists, but they are not. And we are going to talk, has mediocrity ruined the Philadelphia Flyers players and the franchise, and put us in this position that we just don't get any respect from anywhere else in the league? So, Shane, I'll let you give your first take here.
All right, so I went with, and this is, for anyone who does not follow this man, you should. This is probably my favorite Philadelphia Flyers follow. It is from Jamie Baskow, at Jamie Baskow. He is a Philadelphia Sports Network writer, and he is fan-fucking-tastic.
Love that guy. Love that guy.
He's great. I had the privilege of being a guest along with him, also a guest, on Dan the Flyer Fans Brotherly Pod, one of his episodes, one of their early episodes there. And my God, listen to that guy talk, man. I felt like I wasn't in the right room, and he's just that smart, and he's that on the pulse. But his tweet is, the Flyers are not getting any respect whatsoever this offseason by members throughout the NHL. Soon enough, we will see who the real Flyers are. An underdog is a hungry dog. I mean, Coots doesn't even get respect for being on a list of a top 20 centers. That is crazy. NHL Flyers. So one of the things that, if you follow his account or a lot of people within Flyers Twitter right now, there is this disdain for these lists that come out here, because Claude Giroux was one of the only ones mentioned on a top list there. He was mentioned on a top wingers list at, I think, 14 or 16, something like that. Couturier was not on the top list for centers. He was left off of the Selke Award list last year, a year that saw him perform.
He's constantly left off it.
Well, the previous year he was a candidate, or a finalist for it. but this year or this past year he was not, and he very clearly is one of the better or best two-way centermen in all the game of hockey. And I would say that when you're sitting here and you're taking a look at these lists, these lists are built for two different kinds of things. And because you use the word mediocrity, it's the perfect word. If you are a fantastic centerman, defenseman, or forward in general, a wing, if you were there and you were on a very good team, you're a sexy player to all the NHL. Your value is seen everywhere because your team is winning. If you are a dog shit team, so if you're the Edmonton Oilers and you only have one guy that you want to come and see every single night, or two guys that you want to see every night, that makes those guys incredibly fucking sexy. They think, man, this team only has 70 points this year. What would they be without Connor McDavid? The Flyers are a constant revolving doors of 7, 8, or 9 seeds in our conference. Nothing changes in this organization for fucking 40 years. Like we've had 5 years scattered throughout 40 where I was like, this is a good fucking hockey team. Like we should be doing more right now. But when you're stuck in that perpetual 7, 8, 9 of just, as you said, mediocrity, no one gives a shit about you. And when you're a good player, you're not good enough because you haven't taken your team to that next level. And if your team isn't horrible, those guys just kind of fall into the wayside. That's like Claude Giroux's entire career. It's so far been Sean Couturier's entire career.
It's crazy. It's crazy. There's so many guys who have sat there, they've stood by and tried to be Flyers for life. And I fucking respect the hell out of those guys like Claude Giroux who are, I'm here and I'm staying here, mediocrity or nothing. I'm staying here. Like there was like Jeff Carter, Mike Richards. They tried it. There's been people try, but there's a point where there's frustration and you say, I can't do this anymore. I got to go where I think I can win. Type of mentality.
Those guys asked for it. It just happened.
That's true. That just happened. But I mean, at the same time, like you would think that like how can these people want to stay on this team? Jeff Carter, Mike Richards, if they weren't shoved out the door, they very well could still be Flyers right now. Like that just blows my mind that we're stuck in mediocrity and we're sitting there as fans every year and we get a stretch of games where we can cheer and be happy and say, holy shit, we got Stanley Cup contender. And then we can sit there and say, holy shit, we might get the first overall pick again. Like to sit there and think that there's people who want to stay on this team makes me think that there's something, and I'm a big Flyers fan, so I agree. There's something damn special about this franchise, and they just got to get over that fucking hump of mediocrity and get a Stanley Cup. Yeah, you get over that, and people want to come to Philadelphia. There's we are building a championship city, kind of like Boston used to be, because I'm going to say used to be because they're going to start fucking losing now. But we're building a championship city. And people, I hope, will want to come to Philadelphia and will continue to want to come to Philadelphia. And the Flyers are one of those teams that has got to get over that hump and make it.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking. These failures and these players who are left off these lists who are causing such an uprise within Flyers Twitter and hockey Twitter as a whole, the failures are not with that of the players. The failures are 100% to the higher ups of the organization over the last 30 to 40 years. It's so rarely have they done the thing that puts them over the top, and the time that they did acquiring their number one defenseman as they needed to with Pronger, that's the shit you needed to do. It's not finding a middle six guy that can add depth. It's finding superstars. It's developing superstars. The hardest thing right now is the fact that this team has never been truly one of the worst teams in hockey. They've just always kind of been, we're middle of the road. We're an average, adequate hockey team right now. If this team was a bottom 3 or 4 team in all of hockey for 3 or 4 years, and suddenly they were a 7th, 8th, or 9th seed, people would be talking. Claude Giroux would be on these lists. Sean Couturier would be on these lists. Carter Hart even may be on those lists. Ivan Provorov could potentially be on those lists. But the fact is, no matter how fucking good those players are, they haven't done a damn thing to get them out of the 7th, 8th, or 9th seed in that conference. and therefore that must mean they are not nearly as sexy to anyone else in the NHL as they may be to our own fan base here.
Well, it's like as soon as one person starts, well, as soon as the team starts to have like this downswing, this like slow point in the season, everybody does. It's like nobody actually steps up to be that leader. As much as we say Claude Giroux is that leader, it's like nobody truly steps up and says, let's get our shit together. We don't have to lose 10 games in a row right now. Let's get it together. But it feels like constantly when the team starts to go down, everybody goes down. And it's like nobody is making that concerted effort to boost the team up and say, we can't do this right now. We need to win these games. These are crucial, because what has killed us year over year over year, if you look back over the last 5-6 years, there are stretches of hockey where we play like complete and total ass and we lose crucial games. Usually right middle of the season, we lose about 15 of 20 games in a row, and then we miss the playoffs by 8 or 9 points. And it's like, well, if we had done something during that stretch of time, maybe we would be in the playoffs right now. There's always a few stretches in the season, a couple bad stretches that I think just completely ruin us.
Yeah, I agree. It's they seem to lack that ability to stop any of the downward swings. It just seems like one loss, two loss, suddenly you hit that third loss, and it's as if quicksand has been created out of nothing. And these guys just swim and swim and swim trying to get out of it, and they just dig themselves deeper. And it's a fucking maddening thing.
It is, absolutely, and that is a perfect lead into my tweet. So it started, so the thing was, yes, when you don't win a cup for a long time, players who used to be on your team win a lot in a league with lots of roster turnover. The Flyers will win their cup, and it will be an amazing day for the fans. The Birds finally winning a Super Bowl proved to me all droughts ultimately end. But it was not that tweet. It was this tweet, which it was in response to that got my thoughts, blood boiling and thoughts going. This is at RayTull_12. When, ? Tired of waiting, tired of mediocrity, tired of seeing our castaways succeed elsewhere. Being a fan of the Philadelphia Flyers is goddamn torture. Mm-hmm. I agree, Mr. Ray T. I don't know you, but I feel like I know you a lot better with that statement, because I agree. I don't think I need to add a whole lot more to what we've already said, because we've basically spoken to how mediocrity is painful. It has been painful. The Eagles,
the purgatory state of the Flyers is fucked.
Because like the Eagles have tried to get out of mediocrity, and they have been close. The Flyers, it's like they're not even trying. We had that one run to the cup in the last 10, 15 years, and now we're sitting there and we're just stuck. The Eagles make the moves. The Eagles have tried. Howie Roseman is a fucking genius. He served us that Super Bowl. Him and Doug Peterson served us that Super Bowl on a golden platter, and we ate it up. And we need two people in the Flyers organization who are willing to do the same thing for us. We are hungry Flyers fans, and yes, sometimes we won't go to the arena. Yes, you damn well bet there's 10,000 empty seats in that arena, but do you fucking blame us? How are we supposed to show up during those stretches of losing 10, 12 games in a row, or getting 1 point in 20, a couple points in 20 games? How are we supposed to show up and respect that when we watched Hackstall and Hextall literally do nothing? Nothing. And now we get a guy who's doing something, and we're overpaying on everybody. So I guess we got to find the happy middle, right?
Well, look, you've been speaking this all off season, and you talking about people eating it up. I've been eating this up. I am a fan of the Hayes signing now. I know I just spoke moments ago about signing superstars and not middle six talent. But it was such a necessary sign, and I believe that with the history of Alain Vigneault and him, and I'm eating it up, man. I'm excited for the Flyer season in a way that I hadn't been in a while, and I'm hoping to God that it's not a Phillies situation where they're going to bring me up just enough, and you're going to be part of that bring up, and then they're going to suck.
If you look at some early predictions, some predictions don't have us looking too bad. But the difference is we don't need to sign bottom 6 guys on this team. We got a plethora of youth on the way up. What is the point in signing a bottom 6 forward at this point? Then everyone's just going to sit there and be like, oh, he's taking Morgan Frost's spot. Oh, he's taking Joel Farabee's spot. Oh, everyone's just going to bitch about taking somebody's spot. Those guys are not ready to be first and second line players in the NHL yet. That is why the Hayes signing works. That's why the Hayes signing makes sense. When these guys are ready to take that jump up to lines 1 and line 2, Hayes will definitely, and I will not disagree with this, be an overpaid third and fourth line player. But he will be there. He will provide the depth that we need. And then he won't hold the spot. You know that when his time has come, he will step back, and he knows that Joel Farabee, Morgan Frost, all those other guys, their time will come, and he will be getting a damn nice paycheck to anchor a third or fourth line. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I am pumped up. I think that we will be in the playoffs. I think the time of mediocrity may very well be coming to an end, and my confidence lies a lot in one person, and that's Carter Hart. We finally have a goaltender, an established goaltender who's going to go out there and hopefully give us 50 solid games a year. And we don't have to sit there and watch Brian Elliott go down week in and week out, watch Michael Neuwirth never touch the ice, come out to practice and hurt something else. We don't have to watch that anymore. I think we have the missing piece that has left us in the purgatory of mediocrity for so long.
I think that's well said, and it's a good finishing point.
So now let's give a better finishing point. Let's give a guarantee of the week for any of the 4 Philadelphia sports. This is going to be a point that we make on every cross and borders, and we want to hear your guarantees. When we post this, we would love to hear you give us your guarantee of the week for a Philly sports team, or tell us that we're completely ridiculous and wrong and it's an absurd comment. So Shane, what is your guarantee of the week? Something that's happening in Philly sports this week.
All right, so I have for you, Vargas is facing his old team. Vargas on the hill for the Phils against Steven Matz, right? So I have that this game will go to extra innings. It will be the very first time that Vargas gets lit up as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. He's actually pitched very well, not super deep into games, but he's going to get lit up, and we're going to sit there and we're going to be pissed off about it. And then the offense, because this is what happens with the Philadelphia Phillies, is going to make some miraculous comeback. And this game will go to extra innings and give us all faith again, all in the same game. And then we will lose because one of our back end bullpen pieces are, in fact, middle relievers who are just fringe major league players and castaways of other teams. So I see today's game going into extras. I see the Phillies down by 5 or 6 runs at one point, and the offense getting hot for 1 or 2 innings, and I see none of it mattering at all. That is my bold prediction.
The story of the Phillies season, right there.
That is correct.
It's only right that it be a guarantee, because you can basically guarantee that happens 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, not the sexiest of takes.
Like I messaged you about an hour ago before we went on the air, my take was that Jadeveon Clowney would not end up in the midnight green. Well, that didn't even get the chance to see the light of day. It just did, but so I guess my take is that one of our key RFAs, Travis Konechny or Ivan Provorov, is getting locked down this week.
I hope so.
Finally happening, and I think it's going to be Travis Konechny, because I think Konechny has the most give. He will give. He will be that bridge contract for us, and will kind of meet halfway. Whereas Provorov, that looks like it'll have to be long term and have to be $8 million a year, and he damn well better start proving himself well worth it as soon as that's signed. That's a guarantee. So my guarantee is one of our RFAs is signing, most likely Konechny.
I like it. I can see that actually happening. Mine, I'm cynical about the Phillies right now, but yours, I'd welcome a TK Bridge deal right now.
I'd welcome anything bright and positive for the Flyers. It feels like it's been so long, but hockey's just around the corner. I mean, I'm pumped for the Eagles football. How excited are you for next Sunday?
Dude, I can't even tell you. Like, this is how you know the Phillies are fucking bad, because I am massively, massively excited for football season. Like ordinarily, I'm like, oh, good, football's back. I got something to do on Sundays. Like I know what I'm doing. Now I'm like, oh, football season, wings, beer, everything. So yeah, I'm full on like dude mode this year over the Eagles.
I gotta definitely admit I'm glad. I was gonna mention it to you, but I was like, he wouldn't be that obvious to put your guarantee of the week as us beating the Redskins, because come on. That doesn't even need to be mentioned. So if you're gonna tweet that it's your guarantee of the week, don't bother. We fucking know. So
I hope so.
You're damn right. So that is it for us here this week on Crossing Borders. We'll definitely have another episode early next week. But for Shane and I, you can follow us on Twitter at ANYP Podcast or me at Connor10. That's Connor10, TEN. And where can they find you, Shane?
You can get me on Twitter. It's at Shane_Meade, MEADE.
And Shane is working hard to build his Twitter following now that he is not hosting all these shows. So bug him a bit, harass him a bit, get him active on Twitter, everybody.
Yeah, mercifully. Nice job, by the way. Nice host.
I gotta give you some props too. I mean, hosting shows that can get tough. So we got to give you some love. We got to give you a little bit of help on there. So for us at the ANY Pod Network and for Shane and I, thank you for listening, and we will see you, or you will listen to us next week on Crossing Borders.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such jiggle over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.